All right, so starting in chapter 8, verse 1 through 13. In those days, when there was again a large crowd and they had nothing to eat, Jesus summoned his disciples and said to them, I feel compassion for the people because they have remained with me for 3 days already and have nothing to eat. And if I send them away hungry to their homes, they will faint on the way, and some of them have come from a great distance. And his disciples replied to him, Where will anyone be able to find enough bread here in this desolate place to satisfy these people? And he was asking them, How many loaves do you have? And they said, 7. And he directed the people to recline on the ground. And taking the 7 loaves, he gave thanks and broke them and started giving them to his disciples to serve. And they served them to the people. They also had a few small fish, and after he had blessed them, he told the disciples to serve these as well. And they ate and were satisfied, and they picked up 7 large baskets full of what was left over of the broken pieces. About 4,000 men were there, and he dismissed them. And immediately he got into the boat with his disciples and came to the region of Dalmanutha. And the Pharisees came out and began to argue with him, demanding from him a sign from heaven to test him. Sighing deeply in his spirit, he said, Why does this generation demand a sign? Truly I say to you, no sign will be given to this generation. And leaving them, he again embarked and went away to the other side. All right, so Jesus feeds the 4,000. So I don't know if sometimes we maybe forget that he did this twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the disciples are a little bit more on board this time.
Yeah, they get it. They've been through it before. They're like, oh, he's doing this again. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we've already counted, God. There's 7 loaves.
We know
Jesus, 7 loaves. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it's a holy number too. It's 7.
Yeah.
You know, the first time, it's funny. They had 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. That's 7. Mm-hmm. They picked up 12 basketfuls after they were done, which is also another number that you see often.
Yeah. Number of disciples.
This time you see they've got 7 loaves.
They've got 7 loaves, but they also had a few small fish. They don't say how many.
Yeah,
fish.
They don't say. Yeah.
And there's 7 baskets left over.
Yep.
And they were with him for 3 days. So yeah. So if we get into numerology,
3, 7, 12, 100 and. Or 3, 7, 12, 40. Those are kind of the big numbers.
Right.
If there's a Bible trivia question and the question is a number, it's probably one of those. So,
probably one of those. Yeah.
There you go. If you have a trivia night or somebody asks you, if the answer is a number, it's probably one of those.
Yeah. All right. So this basically the same thing happens. They pass out the food. They have all this food left over, and when they're done, also I think I want to point out too. Jesus, again, is moved to do this out of compassion. Mm-hmm. He's often caring for the people that are pursuing him, right?
Yeah. Well, and you also wonder, he's often told people not to tell all this, and they do, and people are forsaking their own health. I mean, they're falling around with no food, no water. They're not even taking care of themselves.
Yeah.
But because Jesus is Jesus, he's like, well, we better feed these people.
Yeah. So one of the things that I find really interesting about this too, and I get it, maybe it's because, so they get in the boat and they move down to a different region. And when they get to the other region, here come the Pharisees. And what do they want? They want a sign from heaven.
I know. You have to laugh.
Right? Like, I just fed 4,000 people.
Yeah.
It's the second time I've done this.
Yeah.
I multiplied bread and fish. What else do you want? Now, granted, they're like further down the road.
This is a different region, so
Also, they ask for a sign from heaven.
Mm-hmm.
So they're probably asking for something specific. They want a pillar of fire or like the giant cloud.
They want a sign straight from God. You did the bread, you did the fish, you walked on the water, you did all that, but we want to hear from God. Right. You claim to be from God. Let's see if you're actually from God.
Right. And that's the thing is he's basically saying it's already clear to you. And okay, so here's the thing that I find interesting. He says, "Why does this generation demand a sign? Truly I say to you, no sign will be given to this generation." And he leaves them. At the same time, signs are happening everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
I don't think the point is that he won't give them a sign. He won't give them the sign that they want.
They want it on their terms. They want proof for themselves. They want it their way, not just to see it and to have the faith and accept it that what Jesus has done and says is the truth.
As long as they choose to ignore the signs that are there, it will be as if no sign has ever been given.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he's getting at here, because the Pharisees are like, no, play our game.
Yeah.
Play our game. And you don't get to go to God on your terms.
Yeah.
He's issued the terms. Thankfully, the terms are easy. The burden is light. Come to know Christ. Accept Christ and you will be grafted in, right? That is our lot. That is how we come to God, is through Jesus. He's the way, the truth, and the light, and the only way to the Father is through him.
Yeah.
And if we do that, if we go to Christ, then all these things are there for us, right?
Yeah.
But we don't get to say, God, do it my way.
Yeah.
Make this okay for me to do. Do this thing for me, and then I'll come to you. Look, I've heard some powerful testimonies of some people who have tried to bargain with God, and sometimes it actually worked.
Yeah.
But it was because it was within the will of the Lord, and He knew what that outcome was going to be.
Yeah.
So people who say, I need a sign, oftentimes will have a way to explain away the sign when they see it.
Mm-hmm. There was a time in my life where I decided some things about my job and monetarily, and like, okay, how's this going to work? And so I prayed, God, okay, you fed 5,000 people with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. That's kind of the same math we're talking here, because I knew our expenses and I knew what my income was. I'm like, okay, God, this is the same thing we're talking about here. And even still, I still sometimes worry about things like, whether it be money or things like that, and I forget. Oh yeah, he has always provided.
Yeah. He absolutely has. We have to not forget that. We have to recognize what he has done as we move forward.
Maybe not the way I wanted it,
right?
But the way that his way.
No, I want to check.
Yeah.
And sometimes, sometimes that's not how he's moving.
Right.
Like, I want to check so I can cash it and buy Chipotle. Right. But he's like, but I have a neighbor who made you lasagna. It's like, yeah, but it wasn't very good lasagna. God, you're not blessing me the way I want to be blessed. Give me a burrito, please.
Right.
So this is, but you make such a great point though. Like, it's easy to be critical of the disciples of what we would have been doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And there's so many, we say, man, if God would just talk this way or do this thing, then I would totally get it and I would be sold out and I would never forget. And we forget what he did for the people of Israel and how quickly they turned against him.
Yeah.
Like within days of hearing his voice, they built an altar to something else.
Yeah.
So we might not want to think of ourselves too highly.
Yeah. So we can, so yeah, there's 2 ways of looking at that. We shouldn't criticize because we do the same thing. But at the same time, we can take a little heart sometimes in our unbelief because it was way clear for them, and even they struggled. So again, that doesn't give us like, that's okay if you don't believe that, But it's a reminder that we are never going to be enough, and we can't ever do enough.
Right.
It is always going to come back to our faith in Christ and Him providing for us and God providing for us, not on our own accord.
Yeah, absolutely.